Today, as we look into the brilliant sunlight uh, that's sneaking into this dusky car park, I want to consider the movie The Good Shepherd. This movie was made. Well, I should have looked it up. I should have looked up and found out the year that it was made. But I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around the turn of the century. Pretty sure it was right around the year 2000. Um, uh, but anyway, this is a puzzling movie. Um, it's a movie that I find to be uh, completely unenjoyable, and yet there's something mesmerizing about it. Well, the reasons why I find it unenjoyable are um, due to the fact that it's, without even considering the subject matter yet, it's done in a very flat uh, style, which filters out emotion. Um, it's about a central character who isn't just dislikable. I mean, I've never had a problem with having a dislikable central character. You know, people complain about that a lot. People complain, oh, this character is just not likable. But I don't think a character has any real purpose or motivation to be around except to be interesting. You know, he doesn't have to be a good guy. He could be a bad guy. He could be somewhere in between. um, he could be likable. He could be unlikable, or he could be, semi-likable. But the important thing is that he's interesting. And this guy's not interesting. Or he's interesting, maybe. He may be interesting, but he's doing his damnedest to be as boring as possible. I'm talking about the character played by Matt Damon. Now, this movie is, something I revisited because it's pretty much about the founding of the CIA. So it's a Hollywood disclosure movie about the CIA. It stars Matt Damon, whom we all know is a glowy. He glows to high heaven. Now, sometimes he's good in things. Don't get me wrong. I liked him in Oppenheimer. I've liked him in some other things. You know, nothing against him per se, but except to say that he's definitely somebody who got his start in showbiz with a little bit of help. And he shows up in these movies. Both he and his friend Ben Affleck, they both are, they both glow like I don't know, like nuclear fallout. Just trying to think of a good metaphor there. They both turn up in movies that are they both often turn up in movies that are about deep state disclosure, let's just say. Ben Affleck was in that movie. I can't remember the title of it now, about the rescue of the hostages in Iran. And it was actually a quite enjoyable movie. I remember liking it at the time. I watched it, but it was complete propaganda. Now, The Good Shepherd is a little more interesting because it seems to me that the CIA has to sort of put out, it seems like their propaganda is sophisticated enough, or CIA, or deep state, military industrial complex, whatever word, whatever phrase you want to use, that other people will just say you're just a conspiracy theorist if you use that word or phrase. I mean, all of those terms have been flagged, and I'm sure if I use it as a title for this video, there'd be some helpful box from Wikipedia telling you what to really think about it. But choose your phrase however you want to choose it. I mean, this is an actual movie about the founding of the CIA. The CIA is mentioned by name many, many times. And it really reveals a ton. Like, we see Matt Damon's character start off at Yale, and in the first scene we ever see him, he's in some musical in drag, singing a woman's song, Buttercup, like I Am Buttercup or something like that. And people are laughing at him, and he's sort of laughing along with the, he's playing along with the joke. It's part of the whole, what you have to go through, the humiliation ritual that you go through. And after this performance, he gets tapped for Skull and Bones, and then we see him in Skull and Bones with nakedly mud wrestling with a bunch of other recruits for Skull and Bones. Well, the bonesmen who have already been, who've already made the fraternity, who are just watching these recruits and putting them through, the rituals that they put them through. They're watching from on high and laughing, and one guy even unzips his fly and pees on them. And this actually makes Matt Damon's character get a little upset. Like, how dare they pee on me? Like, I can handle dressing up as a woman and humiliating myself, emasculating myself. I can handle naked just these gay rituals, naked mud wrestling. But somebody peeing on me, that's just going too far. But then, of course, he gets talked back, and goes through with the rest of it. And he reveals, while lying naked in a coffin, he reveals his big secret, which is also part of supposedly of the Skull and Bones initiation ceremony. This is all right around World War II. And the first things we see Matt Damon do, he infiltrates this professor, this English professor who supposedly has Nazi ties, and later we find out, and then that leads to the professor getting kicked out of the school. But later we find out that that professor was just running a scheme of his own. It was an operation that either Matt Damon's handlers didn't know that it was an operation, or they knew, and this was just like a task for him to do, to cut his teeth, in spycraft and infiltration and such. So we see him, in the early days, and we don't know much about this guy. We never find out that much about him. We do find out that his father committed suicide, supposedly because he was disloyal, but that he pocketed the note which said that his father was where his father made this confession, so that the world wouldn't know, and they just made it seem like it was an accident, the way in which his father died, by his own hand with a gun. That it was just a terrible accident that somehow took place. So we know that much about him, but he's a man with very little affect. I don't know if he's supposed to just resemble the sort of wasp ideal. You know, he's got his horn rimmed glasses and his suit. He very much looks the part, and he he just does his thing, and well, he gets a girl pregnant, and that girl is Angelina Jolie, who plays a sister of another bonesman. So she's in the inner circle, but he never really likes her. She kind of throws herself at him at this summer party, like during the nighttime. During the picnic, uh, as they're enjoying, sitting around together, she just sort of throws herself on him, and basically rapes him, uh, because he won't make the first move, and she gets pregnant, and so that means he has to leave the woman that he'd been seeing. Um, and well, I mean, I don't know what else. Like, there's a lot more that I could say. I don't want to get tedious in summarizing the plot of the movie. Suffice to say that this guy, um, is not interesting, and he's not emotional. He doesn't seem to have much of he doesn't seem to have much love in his heart for anybody. Uh, you know, he he ends up ignore he you know this wife who's beautiful, Angelina Jolie. He ends up ignoring her. I don't know if is it suggested that maybe he's homosexual. There certainly was some gay stuff early on, as we saw. But or maybe he's just asexual. Maybe he's just not passionate at all. Um, at one point, he gets back together with the woman he'd been seeing before, and they have one night of passion. But then he decides to just leave her behind again. Um, and and he ultimately, he doesn't, the one person in his life that maybe he loves is his son, and he ends up destroying his son's life, um, in a way that's especially brutal. There are some brutal scenes in this movie, and I mean it's a rather boring movie. It's slow. And it's not what I would call a slow burn. I've used the phrase slow burn before for movies that are slow paced but have got this intensity, that's building underneath, um, the, the relative slow pace of the movie. Um, uh, but that's not the case here. Here, there's not really much going on, but there are some very nasty scenes. There's one scene where a Russian spy wants to defect, and they just torture him to death because they don't think he is who he claims to be, because there's somebody else, another Russian, who already has claimed to be that person. And it turns out, of course, that the first Russian was was inauthentic, and was playing them the whole time, and so the second Russian, gets tortured and then uh, uh, basically murdered. They put him on LSD, and he ends up jumping out the window of the building. And so there's all this disclosure. We see LSD, which is the CIA's drug. They were the ones who brought the brought CIA brought they were the ones who brought LSD into the culture. Um, we see them interfering in various places in the world, hatching these schemes. We see the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and how the anger builds against Kennedy, although we don't see what happens to Kennedy 2 years later. But we see the skull and bone stuff at Yale, all of the emasculation, the gay emasculation rituals. It's all there. So it's sort of like, why does this movie? What was this movie made for? I don't know why it's called The Good Shepherd either. This guy doesn't seem like a good shepherd to me. The main character, played by Matt Damon, doesn't seem like much of it doesn't. He just doesn't seem. He seems like a man without passion. Maybe he does his duty. I mean, to his. Maybe that's what motivates him the whole time. But it's hard to tell. Why did he ever get involved with this group in the first place? Is it simply because he's from that pedigree, and his father was one such man, and so now he feels that it's his place to join this gang of people who basically, in their minds, run the world. They say, why don't we call one of the other characters who's sort of like the sinister, who's there to utter the most sinister lines and with a smirk on his face. He says something like, "Why don't we call?" They ask us why don't we call this? Why we just call the CIA instead of the CIA? And it's because, well, you don't say God, you say God. So, and there's all this stuff that's basically making it clear that these people, these men, are running the country, running the world. They're unelected. So it's the secret cadre of elitist goons, sociopathic men who are really in charge. And it's disclosure in a sense, but it may be. I'm just thinking it's intriguing to me why this movie was made in the first place, given that it's just seems to be really poor quality wise, not great acting, not great, just sort of, unless you're interested in the subject matter. I should also say another brutal scene is a woman getting thrown out of an airplane. So there are moments of shocking violence, but altogether kind of just Dullsville. Was this movie made to just make people say, well, the CIA is kind of dull, don't bother? Yeah, we're going to admit to all of this, and revelation of the method. We're showing you who we really are, but we're going to make this so boring and that nobody's going to want to watch it twice, except for people like Andy Nowicki. And some people are just going to want to walk out in the middle of it because, like, God, this is so long and so boring, and I don't care about any of these characters, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's weird. Those are just my best guesses. Now, this movie was directed by Robert De Niro, who also kind of glows. I mean, I think everybody who's a movie star glows a little bit. But I don't know. These are my very disjointed thoughts on The Good Shepherd. If anybody else has seen it and has thoughts of your own, let me know. Where am I getting right? What am I getting wrong? I'm definitely interested in hearing from anybody about this. Thanks for watching.